Welcome to the Right Brain Loves Left podcast, where we dive deep into the dynamic world of small business success. I'm your host, Regina Garay, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Right Brain Loves Left podcast. My name is Regina Garay, and today I have a wonderful and very talented and very helpful entrepreneur. Her name is Ann Wade. She is a teacher, an author, and a story shifter. And we're going to get into what that means, the story shifter, because it's very, very important for entrepreneurs to learn and to conquer their journeys and their fears and the stories that they tell themselves as you go through the entrepreneurial process. So Ann, welcome to the Right Brain Loves Left podcast.
Thank you. I'm just delighted to be here. So thank you.
You're welcome. So for those of you listening in or watching the podcast, Ann and I met through the virtual networkers. We're in the same chapter. We see each other every week, and I hear Ann speak about her business, and I was intrigued and I wanted to learn more. And so you will be learning along with me, and I'm really, really excited. So, and so you are an author. You have a book coming out very soon. You are a teacher, and then you are a story shifter. So tell me a little bit about your personal journey into this entrepreneurship and what exactly is a story shifter.
Well, my personal journey into doing this work apparently started at birth. I I don't remember a time in life where I didn't feel drawn towards exactly what I do. I didn't have names for it. Um, I didn't have skills for it. I didn't have like modalities or practices or anything. I just felt drawn towards this idea of teaching and writing and story shifting, which definitely didn't have a name back then. It was just an idea in my little head, my little kid head. So,
And so how what how do you help people? How do you help your clients? What are the stories that it's the personal stories, I take it, that we all go through, that we all tell ourselves? Is that
mhm,
what you help?
I do. But the thing you need to know, because this is really directed at entrepreneurs, right?
Mm-hmm. It is.
One of the mantras that I used throughout my career, and that included having clients that are major industry nationwide, household names, you would know these people.
Mm-hmm.
But your business, your division, your whatever can only grow to the degree you are willing to grow and heal yourself. You're the leader, you're the thought person here, you're the one who has to have the courage and be willing to put the parts together. And if you're not willing to grow into that role,
Mm-hmm.
don't ask your business to go there. It's looking for leadership.
That's that's so key. I never even thought about that, especially small business owners. I mean, I've thought about it, but never understood it the way you just said it, that your business itself is looking for your leadership.
Mhm.
It's not leading you, you're leading it.
That's it. And sometimes we mistake what's happening out there in the business world as either leading us or dragging us along, or we have to do this because they did that.
Mhm.
It's still up to us. And think about this piece, if I say, I need to do this because Regina's doing that, Regina knows what she's doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. I, I'm not willing to go there. If Regina won't do it for me, I'm just not going to do, I can't, I can't do this. Well, your business didn't stop you from doing it. You did. So your business can only grow to the degree you are willing to grow. And we
Wow.
humans grow by healing.
Well, many entrepreneurs, including me, struggle with self-doubt. Others struggle with other things like people pleasing.
Oh gosh.
How do entrepreneurs overcome that challenge?
Well, again, these are developmental things. People pleasing, it
Mhm.
actually begins with parent pleasing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
it goes back that far. It's unlikely that you suddenly became a people pleaser in adulthood or in a business situation because the think about that. People pleasing comes from thinking I have to earn this respect. I have to earn this love. It
Mhm.
comes from doubting that it's inherently yours. It comes from doubting that you're inherently worthy. Chances are that traces back to something in childhood, but almost definitely earlier in life. The only way to really change that now, change it, not gloss over it, but change it is to go to that root. There's an emotional root in there, and you're carrying that emotional baggage,
Mhm.
and it rears its ugly little head when it's like, oh, there you go, trying to do something like that again. Remember, I don't like this because Susie embarrassed me when I was 5, and I'm still embarrassed when anything feels that way. So no, no, you're not going to deal with that. I'm not going to do this. It's like having a recalcitrant toddler.
So really it's about dealing with things all the way at the very beginning, those stories, those, the what is it I'm saying? The actual actions, the scenarios that we had when we were children, and how they affected us and how they, because when I teach time management, it's also about the brain, it's because if you touch a hot stove, later on, your brain is like, yeah, we're not going to touch that hot stove again because you got hurt. And so it kind of protects you, so that's what you're saying is that exacerbates that. So if we're in a situation and we got embarrassed, or if we went on stage and did something and people laughed at us, and then now we're thinking, oh, I'm not going to go on stage because people are going to laugh at me again, that's the
Yeah,
crux of it, getting to that root,
yeah,
right?
because all of those things are stored subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And they're stored subconsciously, and they're kind of running like computer programming in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we may not be aware of any of those connections. But let's use your hot stove analogy.
Okay.
Okay. We tend to think of our senses as physical and emotional, right? We separate them. You got your 5 senses you learned in elementary school, and then you got all this other stuff out there. Well, they're all the same. Your emotions are a physiological experience. And if you had touched that stove when it was cold, for example, you just touched the stove,
Mm-hmm.
or you picked the pot up by the handle and put it on the stove properly without ever touching the stove, you do that a million times in your life, you don't remember them. You remember the hot stove because there was a combined psychological and physiological sensation. It created an emotional load, an emotional charge. That's what takes root. That's what rears its little head up when you're approaching something that's similar. What you notice is that feeling, oh, I'm not going to touch a hot stove again because it felt bad, you know, and it's that subtle. It is that subtle, and it's throughout life. Now, the good news is you don't have to remember every one of those stories
Mm-hmm.
in order to address the emotion, heal the emotion. And it's this wonderful little thing that goes all the way through your nervous system and says, I felt it there, and I felt it there, and I felt it there, and I felt it there. And now that you have listened to me and what I felt, I don't have to get your attention every single time something that could feel that way happens again. And in that way, you become freed of that emotional load that's been holding you back and causing you to behave the same ways over and over.
That's incredible. It's really kind of, I didn't even think about the physiological and and how it affects you in different ways. And yes, you're right. It's that hot stove that we remember. It's not the million other times that we've
Mm-mm,
been near the oven.
mm-mm.
So what are some common stories that business owners need to achieve success?
Well, I mean, probably one of the biggest ones is to overcome that idea of I can't.
Mm,
And we frame it so many different ways. I don't want to. Well, that can be legit. I mean, I'm here to tell you there are certain things I do not want to do.
mhm.
But if they are required in my business, again, I have a couple of choices. We think we're backed into corners, but we always have at least two choices. So if my business requires this thing that I don't want to do, I can change my business model so it's not required, or I can learn to do it or hire somebody who knows how to do it.
Just it's
It's
like,
almost it's so simple and we make it so complex. So many of the things that keep us feeling trapped, it really comes down to either this or this. Two choices, this or this, and then you have the next one. This or this, and then you have the next one. This or this. And if we just look at that next one and what's the tangle around that, the emotional tangle, for example,
mhm,
if we just do that, it's like anybody who knits or sews or has dealt with anything with thread,
mhm.
you try to find that one thread that you can pull that pulls the knot out. But you also know if you pull that knot too fast, it's going to make it knottier. Or if you get the wrong piece of thread, it's going to make it knottier. If you start at that little beginning, you can really slip it through.
Wow. And that goes, it's really nice because it's about the small steps. It's just taking that tiny step and going option one or option two. And we really do some of those options, some of those steps. Um, for instance, I have a program that I need to learn in order to further my business. I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many months I've said I'm going to set it down and I'm going to learn it. Um, and now I'm inspired to really do, you know.
Well, again, two choices. Which one's the right one for you?
Yep.
And when you ask yourself which one's the right one for me, there's like a component to that.
Mhm.
It's sort of the which one can I live with?
Yeah.
Which one am I willing to step up in the plate and do? But if I say I'm gonna do this instead, what am I really claiming the shame from not doing it? Is that shame for real? Or am I self-shaming out of some kind of conditioning and culturizing because I've, tried to bypass it, drop the ball, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so if you notice, it's all coming back to self-examination.
Mhm.
It's always coming back to us as an individual and what load we carry from our whole entire past, you know?
Yep.
This happened when I was 5, and then it got reinforced when I was 11, and then I married it at 20 something, and oh my God, I had to, and then I had to divorce it because, oh my God, there is actually a through line for all of it. And we can tackle that through line. And it not only changes our relationships and our personal circumstances, it changes our business, how we function in the business and how the business goes out from there and functions on our behalf.
It's true because the business is an extension of us. It is a representation of us in a way. Especially if we're a solopreneur or, if we have a small business with a team, it all goes back to that founder. All right, so we're going to talk about, because I know that you work with people on their stories in order to shift
Mm-hmm.
their stories and to break through and go forward. Can you share a practical exercise or tool that you use during story
Well,
shift?
let me share a real quick example, and then the tools. Then
Absolutely, yes.
this is a quickie.
Hmm.
Uh, so this one is about a Jane. Jane
Okay.
and Jane baked a cake today, and her friend Susan comes by, and Jane says, "Don't eat the cake. Don't touch the cake." Well, Susan has some body per perception issues, and she goes, "Don't eat the cake. Jane must think I'm fat. Jane must think I need to go on a diet." Okay. And then her friend Diane stops by, and same thing. Jane says, "Don't eat the cake. Don't touch the cake." And Diane says, Jane always makes sure there's a cake for dinner. She just wants us to wait till dinner, you know.
Hmm.
Same thing. Her friend Lisa comes by. Same thing. Jane says, "Don't eat the cake." And Lisa goes, "Oh, you know what? I bet she made it for Nancy. It's her birthday." She's always doing such nice things for people. What's the only fact in this story? There's only one.
Don't eat the cake.
No, the fact is Jane baked a cake. And then, yes, she said those words, "Don't eat the cake." But the only fact here is Jane. Okay, we'll use both of them. Jane baked the cake. Jane said, "Don't eat the cake." Got three completely separate stories out of that from the same two facts. And all of them had to do with how that woman, that person, how she saw herself in the world. What kind of personal baggage or personal confidence she was carrying.
Mhm.
That's all developmental. So the best way, the most thorough way is to deal directly with that underlying emotion, that feeling. There's several ways to do it. I'm going to tell you one and then share one real quick.
Okay.
Um, the in my opinion, one of the fastest ways to deal directly with that underlying emotion is tapping. A lot of people have heard of tapping or EFT. Do it a little bit differently with Storyshifter. I'm
Okay.
not going to spend a lot of time there, but the goal of tapping, again, in my opinion, is to get that emotion seen and heard and then get it up and out. You want it expressed because it's going to go throughout and it's going to look for all the similar instances of that feeling and say, well, we're just going to address it all at once, get it all up and out. Think of the freedom if you suddenly had no more stories about being overweight or looking like you were, or I need to lose 10 more pounds even though I don't, you know? So the story shift tapping is a pretty cool thing. But this is one of my favorites. We all have triggers, right?
Yes.
And they come out of the
100%.
blue. Huh?
100%.
And you know, I don't know about you, but I've often felt like my triggers were just out to get me. They were just fighting me. They were just pop up at the worst times and bring out the worst behavior. And yet they were not my friends, right?
Right.
Well, here's a little known fact. Triggers are actually designed to point you towards your healing. They are meant to work with you and for you, not against you. But we can use a similar forensic exercise to tapping. I've got these gorgeous story shift cards. That's a physical deck. I should have pulled it out of its pretty little bag. But each one of these cards has a prompt on the back. This one says, and they're open-ended. This one says, "I blame blank for blank." Now, you might not be thinking in terms of a trigger like that, but first thing that comes to your mind, "I blame mom for never telling me I did a good job. And now forever after, when somebody tells me I didn't do a good job, I'm hearing mom say you never do a good job." But these cards point us towards things we would not normally guess are triggers. Let me just pull them all over. And then we can, I encourage you to write out, what that's the instructions. Write out what comes to mind, that story. I'm 4, mom said this. Okay.
Mhm.
Get a handle on that. Then you use the tapping. It brings it up and out. And now that trigger doesn't feel compelled to trip you up anymore.
Interesting. So you use these in your one-on-one sessions?
I do.
Okay.
I actually have a whole list of tools that have different purposes. Some are there for soothing, because when we get all discombobulated, sometimes the first thing we need is some soothing. There are some that incorporate your whole body. There's a physicality to them. And they actually do help embody. And then there are others that are specifically healing, like the tapping. It's kind of like taking your rings to the jeweler and they put them in the machine and it jiggles while the gunk falls out. Tapping kind of works the same way on your body. So we don't have time for that, but that's a whole fun topic in and of itself, how that works. But yes, use those in one-on-one coaching, because here's my philosophy about one-on-one coaching.
Okay.
Job is not to be your coach forever and ever and ever. My job is to teach you how to become your own best self-healer. And to
That's
do that,
beautiful. Because you're teaching it's like teaching a man to fish. Do you want,
yeah, yeah.
do you want to provide the meal and I love that because, it's good when your personalized one-on-one sessions get you to a place where you can feel confidence in yourself to move forward in your confident route.
Mhm. So, one I didn't mention, I have a self-examination, 4 questions that help you change your perspective. But that and the tapping for healing, if I never taught you anything else, you'd be on your way.
It's wonderful. Okay, so tell me about how someone recognizes, what are some signs that a small business owner is being held back because of their own stories?
Well, I mean, one of the big ones is envy and jealousy. You see
Interesting.
somebody else. Well, think about this. I see this coach doing things I want to do, and my little green monster mode goes, well, what's she got that I haven't got? Why can she do this and I can't?
Mhm.
And it's like, well, look at all her clients, look at all her money, look at all her, and these are typically external measurements, the
Mm.
number of clients she has, that's external, that's not internal. It says nothing about, I like working with 10 clients and really going in depth. She likes working with 40 clients, but she's providing a different level. Both work, right?
Right.
Now I'm jealous because she's got 30 or 40 clients and I've only got 10. So that's telling me that I may be holding myself back. Now, there's a couple of caveats to that.
Okay.
Am I holding myself back because I'm really capable of doing 30 and I'm telling myself I can't do 30 because I'm telling myself I'm justifying it? Or am I holding myself back purely because I really like doing this? I really like the 10 clients, but I think there's something wrong with that because all these other coaches have so many other clients. And so I'm telling myself I'm holding back because I'm not doing what they're doing. I'm doing my thing. Oh, but you know, and it's the self-talk thing. What is your self-talk saying to you?
Wow. Yeah. Because whenever I see anybody that's doing, honestly, all I think about is how hard they have worked to
And
get
they
to where they
did
are.
exactly, but that may not be what they're seeing.
Yeah, it's, because I always feel you have put so much work into something to make it a success. And people who may not see that, may not see the work it took. But if you're feeling that sort of jealousy, it's really that inside work. What am I doing the thing that makes sense for me? I love that. I love
Well,
that.
and think about this. Think about that overnight success. Intellectually, we know there's no such thing as an
There's
overnight.
no such thing.
We have not seen what they have put themselves through, what they've been willing to do, how hard they work. We see them bursting on the scenes like, well, look how easy it was for them.
Not easy.
And then the green-eyed monster kicks in and they're like, well, I should be doing that.
That should is a very powerful word.
Mhm.
It's a oof, can lead us the wrong way.
Yeah.
Okay, so in your work, what are some common misconceptions that you come across?
Huh. Probably the biggest one and the most pervasive one is that healing is really hard and it takes a really long time. And sometimes it does, but it doesn't always have to.
Mm.
And we discount and dismiss some of the readily available tools and modalities and practices because they don't seem hard enough and they don't seem like they take long enough.
Huh.
And that's almost like a self-flagellation. But again, it goes back to, well, when were we conditioned and culturalized? That's, you know, work hard, young man or young woman, and you can, it's like, well, that was easy, so I must not have worked hard, so I must not have earned it. But it was easy because of your skill set and because of what you did to get there.
Yeah, because whatever might have been easy for you, somebody else might not have found it as easy. And something that they did, you might struggle with it.
Mhm.
And it all comes back to who we are.
Exactly. Well, and with my own clientele, I'm sure you see this too with your kind of work. It's like, well, nobody wants to learn that. For me, it's easy. Anybody could do it. Like, so that part of teaching you that you put in the work, you've got perhaps the aptitude, the underlying aptitude. Perhaps you came from an environment. I mean, there's so many variables, but that doesn't mean people don't want to learn it from you. It comes easy to you for some reasons, and they might not have that platform, that container to come out of.
Or they realize, I learned this funnily enough because I had met a gentleman through my local chamber of commerce, and he had asked me, "Hey, Regina, teach me about Google Business Profiles." And I said, "Are you sure? Because it's online, it's free. You just go, Google itself has an entire website, dedicated just to Google Business Profiles." And he's like, please, please don't make me research. Please don't make me look. Just teach me. Just teach me how to do this. So I don't have to figure this all out. And it was a very important lesson for me because this also goes back to what you said before. When you're when you're struggling with something, do you learn it, alter your business so you don't have to deal with it, or hire someone to do it? So you never know how, so for me it's easy. I go online, I do research. It's, but for someone else, they just want somebody to teach them. They just want somebody to walk through. So I can imagine where somebody, yes, there are tools, bringing this back to what you do, that yes, there are tools that we can do and they may be easy, but it might be better to have somebody walk you through this in a safe space, and I can imagine, just seeing your vibe, and you're very calm and you're very soothing. I can imagine that you create a wonderful safe space of comfort for whoever works one-on-one with you. So it's true. I think anybody who's watching this or hearing this can see that too. So yeah, so having that, reclaiming your voice and getting rid of that judgment for yourself can be one of the most powerful things that you do for your business.
Well, keep in mind that judgmental voice is actually not your native voice.
Oh,
No, a baby in the womb loves itself. It doesn't know there's an alternative. It's just floating around in there. It's like, oh, this is nice. But then when you're born and you're thrust out into this bright, noisy world,
mm-hmm.
You're going to learn, you're going to start learning what's in your immediate environment. And if it's nurturing, you're going to start feeling more comfortable and more adventuresome and more whatever. But if it's not, if you've got parents that are very critical or parents that are afraid, the baby will break if we touch it,
Mm-hmm.
all of that conditioning and culturizing in your life starts right then. That voice that you're hearing that's critical or whatever, you did not bring that with you, but it started the minute you got here. And so when you talk about reclaiming your voice, what you're really reclaiming is your connection to your absolutely innate, your wholeness, your self. We're so quick to say, oh, mind-body connection, or, mind-body intellect, spirit connection, or whatever. Well, that is your wholeness. And that's really what this work does, is to help you reunite that. Because when something is hurt, some part of us is hurt, we kind of wall it off. We send it over into the corner to do its pain by itself. But then it's short-circuiting, and we keep experiencing it because it's trying to get our attention. It's like, help me, I'm scared out here, help me. And so this is the kind of work. It's like that child, that person, that piece of you, bringing it back home. And the funny thing about that is that language makes sense to us, but you're always whole. Your wholeness always, yourself is always all of this. Your wholeness is always holding space for you, for all of these pieces that you've sent to the corner. And that's what we're doing, is coming back home to ourselves. So when we reclaim our voice, what we're doing is discerning between the voice that really is ours and the one that we have learned through life. That's our distinction.
I love it. Love it. Thank you, Anne.
You're so welcome.
So, wow, that was beautiful. Okay. So, if someone would like to know more about your business or get to know you or chat with you, how do they contact you? And by the way, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the book that you've got coming out.
Oh, okay. Well, the book is called Storyshifter.
Storyshifter.
And it's how to reframe your story without changing any facts, without pretending some things never happened, and certainly without pretending they didn't hurt. So
very good.
That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
How to get in touch with me?
Mm-hmm.
My website is Anne Wade, ANNEWADE, AnneWade.com. Social media, honestly, I'm a little hit or miss with social media, but probably Instagram is the best place. Or you're welcome to follow me personally, but honestly, I am a little hit or miss these days. But on Instagram, it's AnneWade.BecomingFound.
Yeah.
Because we're becoming found again. We're welcoming becoming found again by that innate original wholeness, that reconnection we were talking about. We're not lost. We're not broken. We don't need to be fixed, but we need to allow ourselves to become found by the wholeness of ourselves and stop cutting ourselves up. You can email me, and that's hello@anway.com.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. Hello.
Well, Anne, thank you so much for coming on the Right Brain Loves Left podcast. I appreciate you sharing so many good things for ourselves to think about, not just small business owners too, but others as they go through life. So thank you. Thank you. I
Oh,
appreciate it.
thank you. Thank you. This was wonderful fun. And thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for listening in and or watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.